Let's say you paint for the first time, okay? So everything is basically new to you. Everything is overwhelming. You have to know about color, light, value, brushes, composition, and everything is so new to you that you don't think so much about painting in the beginning, right? You just paint. If you continue to work on your craft, there will come the point that you intuitively start to dissect work from other artists which you like or maybe not. And in order to achieve a certain look, you have to understand the technique the artists are using. And one major thing which plays an important role in this is blending. Because the way you blend something plays an important role on the end result. I will show you 4 different ways on how you can blend something, and I will also show you examples so you understand the different ways of those techniques. Also, if I forget something that you maybe know or a new way of blending, make sure to share it with everybody in the comments. So the first way to blend something is to use a brush with opacity to pen pressure. At first I will show you guys how you actually do it. So let's say we have 2 different colors with 2 different values. I have this brush which is set opacity to pen pressure. Now what you can do to blend this, you can take one of the colors, do 1 stroke in the middle, and then you take the other one. And what you do is basically you go over it again and again till the whole surface is nicely blended. The direction of your brush stroke are always be there. And the goal, your goal, can be to eliminate those strokes. But this can also be a very nice effect on your painting. And one of my colleagues actually, Daniela Ulik, who's a really great artist, is very good in this technique. And this is one piece of Daniela, and I really love her work because you can see still the brush strokiness in her work. So you have this, you see the direction, how she blended, but she also has some very soft spots. So there are areas which are full with texture, and there are areas without texture where your eye can rest. For example, the transition from here to here, this is completely dark and this is completely dark. But in the area of termination, you have the strokes. And see, when I go here, you see that she basically did big strokes and then she went smaller and smaller. And that's actually the way how she renders stuff. And sometimes I look over her shoulder and observe how she paints. And she's really good with this because she also judges intuitively what looks good and what not. And this is a very nice way to use this technique to your advantage. So if you want to achieve a look like this, be conscious about the way you make your strokes and think about the planes and the direction you want to make your strokes. If you decide to make this technique, the rendering will take maybe a little bit longer in the beginning, but when you get better with this, you will get super efficient. The second way is the smudge tool. So when you take the smudge tool, which is super nice, I like to take the dust brush and then I just go slowly over the areas with my dust brush, which creates a very soft gradation between 2 colors and 2 values. So the great thing about the dust brush as a smudge tool is when you use it on skin tone, that you can create some sort of a skin texture while you actually paint the head. So let's say I have an area here and I take this value and I put it in, and then I go in and take the smudge tool and go very softly, gently over it, and you see it softened the area and the edge, but you also create some sort of skin texture simultaneously. And this is very easy to blend 2 areas or 2 surfaces, and you can create very nice soft edges and soft areas. Number 3 is the gradient tool. So the gradient tool is maybe something you already know. First of all, gradient tool here is on G. So the gradient tool is great because you have a linear gradient, you have a radial gradient, you have an angle gradient, you have a reflected gradient, and you have a diamond gradient. To be honest, I mostly only use the first 2 which is the linear gradient and the radial gradient. Let's say we use the gradient tool, we can select one color and then we take the linear gradient. I put it on 100 this time. And if you press shift while pressing down and then you pull it to the side, and you see now it's already creating and blending very soft both sides together. And this is something you have to do a little bit more often, but you will see that you actually get very quick the hand of it. So you can see the difference between the first 2 ways of blending. The gradient tool creates a very soft transition and you don't even see any brush strokes. And this is a great example by Johannes Voss, or also known as Algenpfleger. Those very even transitions you have here from the edge of the wall to the ceiling is super soft. And this is nothing you can easily create with a brush. You can do it, but this would take time. And this is very handy if you have a big plane which have a very soft transition. The next one is the mixer brush. So the mixer brush is something I started to experiment the last couple of days. That's also the reason why I do this video today. So the mixer brush is nice because when you have something like 2 different tones or 2 different values, you can take, for example, a painterly brush or a texture brush. You can take the information of the pixels and then you just go over it and he starts to blend those 2 surfaces together. So why would you use the mixer brush? The mixer brush is great if you want to achieve a very painterly look. I'm not 100% a master of the mixer brush now because I just discovered it for myself. But I can tell you this is really a time saver. Because when you have your painting base done, so let's say you have your tone and your colors, everything mapped out and you have all your elements in the right place. So the composition is basically done. Then you just take the mixer brush with the texture brush and then you just go over and over, and the mixer brush is basically taking the information from the canvas. So this, for example, I just painted last week and this was just using the mixer brush. When you try out the mixer brush has different options. I have it on dry, heavy load, wet 0, load 100, flow 100%. And what you can do is you basically select an area and you see this little thumbnail here changes. And so let's say I established already the palette for my ground, and then I take the palette and then select this and then I paint and can focus only on my strokes without thinking that I have to pick every little color in between. I just can take the area which I want, which I already established, and paint over and over. And now when I want to switch to the grass, I just click the grass and you see the thumbnail changes it again. And then I just work in more grass and more strokes and can really focus on my brush strokes. And that's the same thing. What I start now to experiment is basically to do this with other stuff. So here, for example, I did the hands from the reference pack from Noah and Rachel Bradley, and I painted my hands and tried to establish just the color palette, and then I use the mixer brush again. Same thing here, and the mixer brush is taking the information and I can focus on my strokes. And I don't have to think about anything and just experiment with it. Take another brush and then maybe use the smudge tool in between. And there's also a 5th way of blending something, which is basically no blending. This is a painting by Garen Baker. There's something you see usually in oil painting when the artist map in the values and colors in the beginning, that they just take the estimated color or value and map it next to each other, and it already worked. And you see there is no blending. This is just one tone and one value next to each other, and the painting is already working. So this is actually the 5th way of blending, which is no blending. And I want you to experiment with all 5 ways. So maybe you want to combine the first 2, or maybe you want to combine the first and the last way. So you first use a brush with opacity set to pen pressure and paint it a little bit like Daniela Ulig, and then at the end you start to use the mixer brush with a texture brush, and then you create a very painterly look on top. I want you to try it out, and please, if you try it out, share your experience with us in the comments below. I hope this kind of format was interesting for you guys. Please leave a comment, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I hope to see you guys in my next video or on my live stream. Also make sure, if you're on SKILLSHARE, I also teach on SKILLSHARE. I have 2 classes available. Make sure to check that out. Otherwise, I wish you guys a great week and see you in my next video. Bye bye.